Is it just me, or does that seem to be like the new design decision for modern like AAA studios? Is like, let's see if we can make this as gray as
As
possible.
brown as possible.
Let's look at all of the amazing shades of brown that we can get
Yeah.
in this game. There was something that we were talking about at the end of the year that that I wanted to get into with you a little bit more. Alex,
Yes.
you got some hands-on time with Diablo 4, didn't you?
A little, yeah. I got the beta invite, the open beta, not open beta, I guess it was closed beta, but it was the end game closed beta. They wanted to probably A, stress test, and B, just get feedback.
What was the process like to become part of the beta?
Opt in with Blizzard,
Oh,
and then get an email if they pick you.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, my email said that due to the time you spent Diablo 3, which was quite a bit,
Well, yeah.
we've selected you to do this closed beta.
Oh, okay. So you could apply, but then they had to tell you.
Yeah, you can opt in for any betas for any of Blizzard's stuff, and they'll just send you like, "Hey, you want to be in this?" And you can be like, "Yeah, I do. Let's go." And then obviously I couldn't talk about it during because they have a whole NDA type stuff, and it's just like, yeah, don't record this, and it's all got the watermarks all over it, so you can't like, if you use it, they'll know you used it, kind of stuff.
But that period has passed now,
Yes.
and you're able to actually talk about it.
Sure. I don't think they watch this podcast anyway, so who cares? But yeah, so they have announced their release date for Diablo 4 in June, I think June 6th of 2023.
Yeah.
So 6/6, because add one more 6 and you have hell numbers, obviously.
They'll do it at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, maybe 6 minutes and 6 seconds.
6 minutes, 6 seconds. On the
That'd be
6th day
ideal.
of 6. Yeah.
So yeah, it was, so there was no story. You had like the opening cutscene, like the launch, and then you had, you didn't have all the characters. You could play, I think I played a necromancer, barbarian, and druid.
Okay.
I think were the ones I tried.
How many classes were available?
I think there was an Amazon,
Okay.
and then there was I think a paladin.
So basically it's the Diablo 2 classes?
Kind of. It's similar. I think it was a rogue instead of an Amazon, and it was just,
Oh, okay.
I don't remember because I didn't play them all, but I tried the barbarian, the druid, and the necromancer.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, great. So that's
wanted to see how different classes worked.
Yeah, and those seem pretty far away from each other. So that's good. So I guess the question that I have is, are any of these classes that you had played in previous Diablo games?
Yeah, I played Necromancer in both Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Got the DLC for the Necromancer in Diablo 3. Obviously, there was no Druid in Diablo 3, so I didn't play that. I did play a ton of the Druid in Diablo 2, so obviously that's why. And Barbarian, you've played in every Diablo game that I've played, because Barbarians are just fun to just murder everything.
When we're looking at the classes that are in Diablo 4, what is different or similar to playing them in that game than they were in the previous titles?
Well, that's a harder question, because the way the game is played is not the same way as you would do in previous titles.
Explain?
Alright, so there's a couple different things. I'll start with the first big noticeable difference. Is that Diablo 2, Diablo 3 are completely games that you can play offline. I believe you can play Diablo 3 offline. You can play it solo.
Yeah.
Or you can play co-op with friends.
Okay.
Diablo 4 is, unless the beta was different, not that experience. It is online. You're playing in a shared overworld with other players. You can still make a party and join people for that, but you're playing in a world that is shared by however many other players are on whatever they use, servers, realms, whatever.
Okay.
Think of how when you played World of Warcraft, if you were in the city, you could see other players there because they're there too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that.
So, or if you're somewhere else in the world and there happen to be other people doing an event in that area, you could do the event with them.
Oh.
So it is not a solo experience at all.
Yes.
If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I don't think you would have your closed beta be like this and have your sold game have an experience. Like, if it has a solo ability on the Diablo floor, that would be much better in my opinion. Typically, when I play Diablo games, I either want to play by myself or with a couple of friends. I don't really want to go try and find a boss and have to wait for them to respawn because someone else just murdered them.
Right. That's good to know.
So that is a major difference between previous installments of Diablo and Diablo 4. Pretty major change, especially if that's...
Yeah. Do we have any indication that there will be a solo experience?
I haven't looked into it, to be honest with you.
Okay. I haven't seen anything about it. That's the reason, because they haven't really been talking about it. I know that there's some people that have been discussing their time with beta, but I think Blizzard hasn't been sharing a ton of information outside of that. So.
I can't imagine they would offer a solo mode and not have that available for the beta.
You would
Unless
think.
they were simply trying to stress test it. In that case, I can guess that, but then you would have the option on your screen to do solo and just have it grayed out for your beta. You know?
Right.
So that is probably the biggest gameplay change.
Okay.
I think that's one of the bigger ones.
Okay.
Secondly, the way you play the game is a little different.
Okay.
You still get your 4 skills as per Diablo. I guess both of them, really. Diablo 2 and 3. You still have your skill bar, the QWERT or whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can select them how you will, but the skill tree is different. Did you play Grim Dawn a bit?
I did.
And did you play Path of Exile?
I played some of Path Exile.
So you know how
very
it's
little, but yes.
It starts at one point with some nodes around it, and then goes to another point with nodes around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Oh.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense for it to just be nebulous like this. Basically, you have to put X amount of points in the first nebula to get the path open to the next one,
right,
and then so on and so forth.
Right.
And then down at the end, you have some ultimate skills kind of deal.
Right. Right.
You know, some big overpowered skills to choose from. The issue I had, not a lot of the choices were really that attractive to me.
Okay.
Doesn't matter which class I was playing.
Right.
Diablo 3, you got to be cool, I want to use this ability, and I'm going to put this rune on it to make it different.
Sure.
And then maybe you have a legendary that would augment that further based on what the ability, your legendary effect has on it.
Sure.
But this one, I was none of these abilities really, you just put points, Diablo 2 style, you still put points into those skills so you can upgrade them past, first rank, which is nice. I like that. But even then, it's alright, well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna, you have core skills and then basic skills and then, offensive stuff, but they're all, you can mix and match them, but it didn't really engage that well, I don't think.
Okay. Are there, when we're talking about, the nodes, is it, several different nodes that go through different kinds of, subclass almost abilities stuff? Sort of like in 2, where they had, a few different, skill trees? But
no, it's just, one node to begin with the stuff around it, and you select from that, and it's not you pick different trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's all
one. It's not poison, and then bone, and then summoning. It's just here's your nodes, pick which skills you want here. But then you've got, again, your core or basic skills, and the ways that they're tagged for skills matters. And they did not tutorialize it that great, in my opinion.
Right.
So okay, my core skills are the ones that generate my resource, I suppose.
Okay.
And then, what's a basic skill then? Is that just one you can spam? Does it cost nothing? It doesn't generate? What is it? Each of the classes have their own resources and ways to gain and spend them. Each of them had their own little gimmick for a specialty, I guess I want to call it. I forget what they use for the term. So the barbarian, for instance, instead of just equipping one weapon or maybe a weapon in each hand, you could equip a bunch of different weapons on the barbarian.
Oh.
Which was neat. It was like you equip one-handed, and you can equip another one-handed or a shield, and you can do a two-handed or a slashing weapon and a two-handed like bludgeoning weapon. And different skills can use different weapons.
Oh.
And for that you could select which weapon you'd want to use. If you had multiple, that would be qualified for the skill. So that was neat. And then using different weapons, you could raise your mastery with those, and then gain like a perk you can choose to select to have your character have that perk going, kind of deal.
Oh.
So that was neat.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Okay.
So, and then you could have like, okay, well, this attack ability I've got uses this weapon, and this ability uses a different weapon. So that was cool for the barbarian. I thought that was neat. It did not really tell you right away that's what it was doing. You kind of had to figure it out. But on the other side, the druid, with their abilities and their shape-shifting abilities, for instance, you didn't just gain a form of shapeshift.
Oh.
It was, this ability is a werewolf ability. So when you use it, you temporarily transform into a werewolf until you use a different ability. So you could go werewolf, and then suddenly into a werebear, and then suddenly out of shapeshift altogether. Which I didn't prefer. I was like, I would like to just be a werewolf right now, thanks. Let me be a werewolf and do all these things in werewolf form.
Is there just the werewolf for the druid, or do they have other
there was
forms?
werebear too, and I think some summoning as well. I got a cat now.
Yeah, you didn't turn into a cat. The cat came extra. That's a... Are you sure that's not a were-lion?
It might be.
Were-tiger? That's a were-tiger. But that's okay. That's the one that they didn't show in the...
This is the shape-shifting form they didn't show in the beta.
That's probably going to be extra. You'll get extras for that. So, there's that. Necromancer, though, because I always like the Necromancer. Differences between the older versions of how they did necromancy and this one? Do you still raise corpses?
Yeah, you can raise corpses still. You can get skeleton minions. You can get a golem as a specialty. You can have different selections as your specialty. You can be like, oh, I want to raise this type of skeleton. Maybe I want skeletal warriors, skeletal mages, and maybe I think the last one was skeletal archers. I don't remember.
Yeah, sure.
And then it was like, okay, well, now you can select to either make it so they have more damage or more defense, or like they have each of those skills, and each had like 3 options for it that you could do. And like the third one was like, you don't want to summon any of them, and you would rather have a bonus to like your defense skills or resistances instead of having these skeletons active. So excellent. That was interesting. Did you play the Necromancer in Diablo 3?
No, unfortunately I didn't, because that was the add-on content that
it felt really similar to that, and the skills felt really similar to that. It didn't feel as good as it, honestly.
Right. Well, in 3, I think the thing that took me out of 3 was the idea that you were just automatically gaining all of your skills and abilities. Like, it just unlocked at levels. There were no skill trees or anything anymore to specifically build out your character.
Yeah, see, I didn't mind that in 3 so much because it gave you access to everything instead of having to pick and choose, and then you could experiment.
Sure.
Which was nice. Instead of, say, this way, which means you'd have to, if you wanted to respec, you could do that. It probably would cost money. I don't know if it did in the beta. But then if you want to play around with the skills, you have to refund your skill points, then put them all back in the ways you want, and tinker around with where you want points allocated to.
How does it look? How does it sound?
Looks like Diablo.
Okay.
Little grim, little dark.
Okay.
Again, it's a top-down isometric, so that's nothing new.
It would
or
be kind of
different.
weird if it wasn't, so.
Yeah. So it's still your top-down. It's still point and everything. Click to do whatever. That's all the same. Graphics are fine, if a little boring, I guess I would call it. Everything's very drab.
Yeah.
Even Diablo 3, they were like, oh, this is so bright and colorful.
Whimsyshire is the
Whimsyshire. But this is just drab.
Is it just me, or does that seem to be, like, the new design decision from modern, like, AAA studios? Is like, let's see if we can make this as gray as possible.
As brown as possible.
Let's look at all of the amazing shades of brown that we can get in this game.
Yeah.
Why use a color palette? We're just going to have the one color and have it everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't need to be as, like, graphically superior to Diablo 3, for instance, which is a lot more cartoonish. It didn't need to be as, like, more realistic. I don't think that benefits it in any way.
Okay.
Like, it's not hyper-realistic, thank God, but, like, I don't think they needed to put that much effort into that. I don't think it benefits or detracts at all.
Now, one thing I was looking at when I saw some of the, like, early release stuff when they announced the game is, like, I saw the barbarian going, like, jumping off of cliffs and stuff like that from one level to another and stuff. And I thought to myself, oh, well, that's kind of interesting that they're trying to utilize the environment with making it more interactive than it has been in previous games. Did you encounter any of that when you were?
Yeah, there's spots where you can be prompted to climb up a ledge.
Oh,
or a
there's
ladder
specific
or something
spots
like that.
though.
It's mostly that. I'm sure you can take, if you're on a cliff, I'm sure if you have a jump move, you can, or a teleport move, you can go from point A to point B with an attack. You get mounts now also. There are horses and mounts and stuff because you have a big overworld and players like their mounts.
The thing about mounts is that there's like a double-edged sword with that. Like, one, I love the idea of being able to actually traverse the environment a lot faster. But two, if you have the inclusion of mounts, it usually says that there are large swaths of nothing that you are going to have to traverse over, because we've put nothing there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we've created this giant world. Now let's get you on a horse or a boat or a vehicle to get you through it as quickly as possible, because there's nothing there.
So it's a lot less linear.
Yeah.
I believe. And I mean, it could be a linear storyline with the actual story. I didn't see any of that, so it could drag you through the world.
Sure.
You know, as per that. But like the end game experience, obviously open world. But it was, instead of like, here's like a series of connected levels, it was just an open map kind of deal.
Okay.
There are towns, there are multiple towns, multiple towns.
Okay, good.
None of them really felt like they needed to be as big as they were.
Yeah, so like, I even felt this though, like back in Diablo 2 or something with like Tristram. Like, Tristram is a fairly large town, or you know, it's
small
out.
In comparison.
It's small in comparison. That's always good. But like at the end of the day, a lot of those towns in you know, Diablo or Diablo style games will have a lot of buildings that just aren't accessible or anything. They're just kind of there, and then
just set pieces.
Yeah. So you have like the 5 or 6 actual people that you talk to, and then there's just a bunch of other stuff there that you kind of just, I guess, can tool around with. I remember that was, like, really prevalent when you got to, like, Throne of Baal and, or Lord of Destruction, I should say. Different game.
Ghislaine.
Yep. And then by the time you get to there, you know, that town really doesn't have a lot for you to do.
Yeah. It's like there were just too many vendors for everything. It was like, here's your jewelry vendor, here's your armor vendor, here's your weapon vendor, here's a black, here's a guy who forged your legendaries, here's some for scrolls, here's someone for potions.
Yeah. It
was like, this is unnecessary. Like, give me less vendors and less town, please.
Yes. There could be just, like, 2 or 3 vendors, or, realistically, I've seen some systems where they just have the one person that you shop with.
Yeah. It's like, a couple of them are fine, but, like, this is too many. You have way too many vendors. Your town is too big. I don't know where things are now. It's like, I don't want to have to take 3 minutes to wander to this one person to do one thing, and then 2 minutes to go to another person.
Yeah, I think that the system that I'm fine with is, I'm gonna reference my series, but in Borderlands, there's 3 vending machines. And in basically every single one, there's the one that handles, like, your ammunition and your grenade mods and stuff. There's the one that handles, like, shields and and class mods and your health potions and stuff. And then there's the one that does the guns. And so when you encounter the vending machines, they're all pretty easily marked, and they're all over the world, and you know what each one of them is supposed to do, for the most part. And that's all you need for shopping. That's all the shopping that has to be done in the game, and they usually are near each other in most towns. So, but then of course the town is also really large, so yeah.
A side note to that was, this obviously isn't going to make it to the final part of the game, but a lot of the voice acting for the people that were saying random lines was just text-to-speech.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, they'll fix that before the end.
They'll fix that. That'll be a thing. But it was just like, wow, this is terrible.
I've encountered that in a lot of, especially game preview stuff. Even Everspace 2, which was a very good game, but you can see, like, when they got into later content, they're like, they even made a note, this is text-to-speech. We're getting these dialogue things, voice acted later. But yeah, obviously Blizzard's going to do the voice acting for that. The thing I think I'm most worried about when it comes to Diablo 4, and maybe you can either make my fears warranted or allay them, but when I tried playing Diablo Immortal, it became pretty obvious that the microtransactions, the loot boxes, the way that they built the game was to try and make it a cash machine that would constantly spit out as much money as possible.
So I believe they had said they're not going to be any pay-to-win stuff in Diablo 4. I'm pretty sure they said that.
Okay.
That being said, there is an in-game shop with cosmetics and the type of things like that. So I don't know how aggressive they're going to be pushing that. I'm not sure. I didn't interact with any of it because I don't care about in-game shops 99% of the time.
On the one hand, when it comes to the cosmetic thing, I understand that, like, that's an opt-in and it's not mechanical. On the other hand, though, after Fortnite, I've become acutely aware that that's still a really, really lucrative framework for companies.
Have you heard of League of Legends?
I have. Never played it, but...
Yeah, well, the game is free. And that's because they don't need to make you pay for it. The skins are what they make money on.
Right, exactly. And this actually, they've done pieces, I think even Game Theory talked about this, but the idea is that it is status symbols, and, especially when you have maybe younger or impressionable children, they really want the status symbol of the tomato person costume that you can play in the Fortnite specifically. They want those, or the branded opportunities. So that, Avengers was really heavy into that too, doing all these skins and doing promotions with other companies to buy their product. I'll see how long that lasts, because I lived through Fallout 76. And originally that store was only going to be cosmetics and skins and stuff until there's like the refrigerator that makes it so that your food doesn't just deteriorate.
So I did want to say the one thing, even while playing it and after playing the beta for Diablo 4, I have a comparison for you if you would like to try a game that is like that.
Okay.
Remember that one time I talked about Lost Ark?
Yes.
Yeah, go play that, and you're gonna get what Diablo 4 feels like.
Ah, okay.
Almost down to a T at this point.
Okay, I might have to tool around with that at some point.
Yeah, it's the same kind of overworld with shared experience between players. I don't know about the story. Obviously, it's gonna be different because it's Korean versus Western. So the story will be vastly different, I'm sure. But the gameplay, feels very similar, and it looks very similar, like the way you mount your horse and ride your horse and can get off your horse in combat, and all of that just feels like it feels a lot like even while I was playing it and participating in their chat, I was like, this kind of feels like Lost Ark, which I played 100 hours of. So
right, you liked Lost Ark for the most part.
I mean, I did. I put like 140 hours in it.
Right.
But
so there was that.
But it was also free.
That's true. And they're going to make you pay for Diablo 4.
At this point, I've decided that I'm probably not getting Diablo 4 upon release. Maybe if it goes on sale, depending how it does and if I'm interested in it still.
Right.
But currently, not interested in Diablo 4. There is nothing the game can offer me that I can't get for free with Lost Ark.
Yeah.
The only thing that it would offer me is the story from Blizzard following the Diablo franchise.
Sure.
But even that, after Diablo 3, is kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Blizzard has bad storytelling, and they can usually make some pretty interesting, rich world-building experiences, but I'm not gonna say it's, like, winning any awards for its storylines.
Not usually.
It's the general story of Diablo is a big demon came back to the world, and you need to kill it now. Like, it's pretty much it. It's pretty much the whole storyline in fits and spurts as we go through. Like, the fallout from one game initiates the next, which initiates the next, but still, yeah. But that's okay. So really, at this point, not looking to dig back into it. No real desire to. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Not at this point. If I want to play Diablo, I'll probably play Diablo 3. I have Diablo 2 remastered or
resurrected, yeah.
So I can play that if I want to, but like at this point, like Diablo 4 doesn't interest me. Even the way they did legendaries was weird.
Really?
Like you could craft your own legendaries, but like the system was not explained at all because beta. Why do you need tutorials? I guess. It was just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Everything just felt weird. Again, you can also play something like Grim Dawn and get a similar experience in some of the sense, so.
Okay, and I did play some of Grim Dawn, so yeah. Alright, so I guess we're just gonna have to find out what happens with Diablo 4. I'm wondering out there, if anyone is listening, if you are excited about Diablo 4, or if you happen to get your hands on it during the closed beta, if you had any thoughts on it, please let us know in the comments.
Obviously, this is my personal opinion. I'm not speaking for everyone. There are a lot of people who played it and were enjoying it. Overall, gameplay was okay. Nothing to really write home about, though.
Right. You probably expected a little bit more innovation considering how long it's been since the last Diablo came out.
I expected it to be better. It was rather bland, just like its art style.
Nor, however, were your expectations particularly high.
Coming out of Diablo 3, which I had played a ton of.
Yeah.
I was expecting something I'd probably enjoy about as much. So again, yeah, if you got to play in the closed beta, or even before that or after that, feel free to let us know what you thought. I am obviously, this is my own opinion, and you cannot have that too, and that's great. I thought it felt like a Lost Ark clone in the Blizzard style.
So there's our hot take for the day. That's our salt take. Diablo 4, the Lost Ark clone. Oh boy, that's a title. That's a title right there.